That's a rich question because ministry is filled with both the highs and the lows, the mountaintop moments and the deep valleys. And I've learned that both joy and resistance are necessary teachers. Let me start with the challenge because it wasn't what I expected. When I first stepped into ministry, I thought my biggest warfare would come from demons, from spiritual attacks, from culture. And yes, those are real and they show up often. But the hardest part of ministry for me has been the rejection, misunderstanding, and isolation, especially from those I thought would support me the most. When you're called to walk in bold obedience, not everyone claps, especially when you're a woman called to preach with authority, cast out devils, and carry an apostolic mandate. It threatens old systems. It agitates religious mindsets, and it challenges the comfort of people who only know you from a previous season. There were people who saw me rising and didn't celebrate. It exposed their jealousy. There were spiritual leaders I admired who wouldn't affirm my call because it didn't fit their theology. There were friends who distanced themselves when I chose consecration over compromise. And if I'm being completely honest, that broke me because I assumed that doing what God asked would mean He'd make the path easier. But what I found was this: obedience doesn't always bring applause. It brings alignment. And sometimes alignment requires separation. I had to learn how to stop bleeding in front of people who didn't care to understand. I had to guard my heart without hardening it. I had to get to a place where I could say, even if no one affirms me, God chose me. That's not pride. That's healed confidence. And then there's the spiritual warfare. Ministry isn't cute. It's costly. You'll feel the hits in your body, in your home, and in your sleep. There were seasons where I would finish ministering and I felt like I had been spiritually mugged. I had to learn to recover well, how to keep oil in my lamp, and how to anoint myself for the battle that I didn't see coming. But here's the thing. For every challenge, God has matched it with immeasurable joy. So when you ask me what's brought the most joy, it's simple: watching people get set free. Seeing a woman who's been bound by shame for decades break into the presence of God and finally see herself through His eyes. Watching a family restored. Watching someone who didn't know their purpose suddenly walk in boldness and fire. Hearing testimonies that someone applied the word and breakthrough came. That's what I live for. It's not a stage. It's the deliverance. It's the transformation. It's watching people go from surviving to spirit-filled, faith-walking, purpose-driven warriors. There's no high like that, because in that moment, I realized this is what the oil was for. All the crushing, all the tears, all the late nights, all the sacrifices. It was to carry a weight that would set someone else free. And joy also comes from being in the presence of God when no one's watching. There have been moments in prayer, just me and the Lord, where His presence filled the room so thick that I couldn't move. That joy, that nearness, it's not attached to results. It's relationship. And that's what sustains me. So yes, ministry's been both beautiful and brutal, but I wouldn't trade it for anything because I've tasted the fruit that comes from staying faithful through the fire. And I always say this: the joy of ministry isn't in the crowd, it's in the chains that fall. And the greatest reward isn't in people knowing your name, it's in heaven knowing your obedience.